Forget about making your bed every day. Just forget about it. But what is it about your Hello guys. Today I'm going to be talking about two books. Um, Everything is Fucked, Mark Manson, and Atomic Habits, James Clear. So these are the two books I want you to read all. I would encourage everyone to read before the year runs out, 2023. So last year I started reading this book by Mark Manson, Everything is Fucked. So if you read The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, he's the same person, he's the same author, and he has really made a big thing in this book. He has really talked about a lot of things in this book. But we're not talking about this year. So last year in December, I started reading this book. Last year, December to be precise, I started reading this book, and by the first quarter of 2023, I finished reading it. And in the second quarter of 2023, I started reading Atomic Habit by James Clear. So these two books have really changed my life. The way I think, the way I do things, the way I communicate, the way I talk to people. These two books have really changed a thing about my life. So before this year runs out, I encourage every one of you to just grab a copy, and there are a whole lot of online. You can get the audio books out there. Sometimes I'll listen to Spotify, like The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. I didn't read it, but I listened to the audiobooks on Spotify. So if you could not get any of these hard copies, you can as well just go there online on Spotify and buy the audiobooks and just read. So before I get into talking about these books, I want to talk about another book by Robert Kiyosaki. And I started reading, or should I say I read Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That was in 2015. I was in the university, and a friend of mine lent the book to me. He promised me that he was a law student actually. So I started reading it, and for some reason I was in school, so I couldn't know all the school hassle, so I didn't really pay attention. But I had it in my mind, and I kind of recall one or two things about it, like trying to make counterfeit money, his friends telling him that they couldn't go out because they were poor and stuff like that. But I revisited Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad in 2023, and here is one thing I kind of extracted from the book, and I'm working towards it, and that's been helping me and has kind of helped a lot of people. So Robert Kiyosaki has kind of tried to differentiate between your business and your job. So a lot of people, there's this whole kind of misconception that you have a job and they mistake that for their business. So put it simply, your job is what you work every day for. You wake up, you go to your job every day, and you wait for end of the month to get your paycheck. But then on the other hand, your business is what you don't actually go there every day, but you get money from it. It's more like a kind of passive income. So a job is kind of a different thing from your business. A lot of people in 21st century tend to, have a kind of misconception about this. And so, Robert Kiyosaki has kind of emphasized that schools are not teaching about money, which has become a big deal in our contemporary societies today. You see a lot of people, they go to school, they have a kind of much degrees as necessary as they can, but they struggle with money. He kind of made an example, he kind of referenced in his book, he talked about what he called Rich Dad and Poor Dad. His dad was a poor dad, even though he had a professor. He was a professor, but then on the other hand, he had this rich dad who was kind of a businessman, an entrepreneur, a real estate and stuff like that. So he is kind of emphasizing that they don't really teach people about money in schools. So you have to learn this on your own. And these are the several ways of, training people to live their lives and understand how money works. So Rich Dad Poor Dad, I visited it in 2023, and that's what I got from it, and I'm working on it. A lot of people have used this and it's working on them. So there's a whole difference between your business and your work or your job. So your business is what you don't really work there, you don't really go there every day, but brings money for you. You own it. And then on the other hand, you're working for people, you're working for someone, you have a boss or stuff like that, and then you have to go there every day, and then in the end of the month you have your paycheck. So in 2023, that's one of the reasons why I'm making this video. If it reaches a whole lot of audience, I'll know that I'm getting paid from YouTube, and I have my job out there to work, and then in the end of the month I get paid. But I also have this my business that I sit here every day, and then in the end I get paid as well. So now let's dive into Everything is Fucked. So when I started reading this book, I know I love reading about self-help books. So I was working in Titanic Hotel in the second quarter of 2021, and then I saw someone had this book, both Everything is Fucked and then The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. And then immediately something occurred to me, and I had a glance. So I googled it, and then that was it. So I read this book, and every chapter of this book has been fantastic for me. Every chapter of this book I've kind of derived meaning from every chapter of this book. From Mark Manson talking about our feeling brains to our thinking brain and stuff like that. Now here's the thing. We think that we could solve issues for ourselves, or things could work the way we want it to work every day. So if they don't really work the way we want, we become frustrated. But in this book, I think Mark Manson is trying to tell us that as human beings, shit will always happen. And as human beings, while shit happens to us every day, you have to understand your role you have to play as a human being. And that is trying to find your space, trying to find where you belong in life, that you have meaning. But if you wake up every day and you feel that things should happen the way you want it, it's not always gonna go the way you want it, and then you become frustrated. So this is a kind of self-help book. I've said a lot of stories in this book, kind of related it to history, philosophy, psychology, and stuff like that. So a whole lot of multi-dimensional phenomenon of life, you kind of try to bring them all together. So when I started reading this book, I was on flight to Nigeria in 2022 in December. So I spent 3 hours on flight reading it, and by the time I landed, I kind of had this feeling that my life was changing a little bit, and I was kind of, the way I interacted with people, the way I began to talk with people kind of changed for me. A whole lot of things changed for me. So Mark Manson has re-emphasized on how society works, how we think, how our brain think, how we react to situations. He has talked about a whole lot of life, everyday phenomenon that affect our daily lives. So we have to, think about life circumstances where things don't really work the way we want it to work, but in the end, we have to decide and we have to feel ourselves. It's like finding your own space in a kind of unfavorable place where you don't want it, but you have to create a little bit of tent in an island and settle down there, even though every other thing is not really working well, but you decide on your own whether to feel happy or not. So a whole lot of people think that life should be happy, life should be a whole lot of fun and stuff like that, but in the end you not always find life like that. So he's told a lot of stories, and then I urge a whole lot of people that if you grab your hand on this book, by the time you start reading the first chapter, in the end you realize that you've done a whole lot of job for yourself. So this book is a self-help book that I started reading. I finished it, and it's been of help to me so far. So far so good. So he's also the author of The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. So now, tiny changes make remarkable results. They make a whole lot of differences. So James Clear has kind of atomic, or the little pieces of stuff that everyday change. Forget about making your bed every day. Just forget about it. But what is it about your life that you are doing that you feel is not right? So is it because you're doing it every day and you feel like you don't want getting out of it? Is that becoming a strong thing for you? Forget about smoking every day. Forget about waking up every day. Forget about getting to the gym every day. Forget about making some stretches every day. But those things matters. The reason is because if you keep doing them over and over again, it becomes a habit for you. And then another thing is that if you reverse all of those things that we just mentioned here now, you kind of start seeing those kind of results. If you do it every day and repeatedly, that's when it becomes a big deal. But if you do it one point and then you stop, have I told you that Mark Manson kind of acknowledged this book? So when I read this book and then I got this book and I started reading, I realized that Mark Manson has kind of acknowledged this book. He wrote something here, and a supremely practical and useful book. That's what he wrote. So I was like, wow. So these guys, they have something in common. But there's something about this book. It's also kind of relating to history, psychology, and stuff like that. And the same thing, Mark Manson has kind of, they're within the same zone. I could just fix it like that. So this book has a whole lot of diagram in it. When you read after some pages, you'll see a whole lot of diagram in it. So there is one thing I got from this book that I really want to share with you guys. It's not about what you've just done for a day and dumped it. If it's a bad habit that you keep repeating it, you have to stop it. If there are good habits that you're doing every day, you have to keep them. But one thing that you have to understand, that the account of accumulation of tiny little things that you do every day, and when they accumulate, they become a big thing for you. So if it is bad that you're doing, that you realize that sometimes like smoking cigarette, you have a puff for one time, it's not a big deal. But when you keep doing this every day, it becomes a big deal for you. So waking up every day and not really making your bed because you are late at something and you really want to, get there early, it's not a big deal. But if you keep doing that every day, it has become a big deal. If you decide to miss your gym classes for a day, it's not a big deal. But if you miss it for 1, 2, 3 times, it becomes a big deal. If you promise your kid something for a day and you miss it, it's not a big deal. But if you do it for 1, 2, 3 times, it becomes a big deal. So there are a whole lot of related stories in this book that James Clear has said about them. But in the end, you just have to keep doing one thing repeatedly, and then it becomes to a whole mighty thing that you find it difficult to live yourself. So these are the books. Today we're not talking about technology, we are not talking about phones, but I've had my hand on these self-help books, and there have really been a lot of things to me in this year. I made myself a promise that I'm gonna read more books this year than ever before, but but I'm still trying. I know there are a whole lot of people out there that don't read like that, but I encourage you guys, grab a copy, audiobooks and the hard copy books. You just grab a copy and read and have a read. So among these two books that we just talked about, Pete, which one have you read, or which one do you think you're gonna grab a copy and have a read? Mention your answers in the comment section, and as usual, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for giving out your time. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye. 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 Bye.